Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri 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 Ram Jai Ram जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम 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 जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम
श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम श्री राम जय राम जय
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram,
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Somebody has given this chit. The thought, I am still on the road, but I am getting closer day by day, seems very encouraging. But as long as you believe this voice, it will divide you and send you on a journey of near misses. We don't know under what context Muji Baba explained this, but from the words what we can infer is, so long as there is a seeker, the sought after is away from us. When we say I am a seeker, I get some joy. Instead of something else, I am a seeker. But still, as long as I maintain this seekerhood, the sought after will always be away from me. So a stage should come when the seeker is not there. If a seeker is quite well aware of this stage, probably it might help him. That means the thought which says you are the seeker, the thought realizes its own source. When the thought realizes its own source, there is no more seeking. When we keep on chanting the name, especially chanting the name mentally, a stage it gets developed where the chanting is being known, chanting is being heard, chanting is being realized. By whom? A witness consciousness emerges. The knowing principle. Immediately the chanting stops. Fruition of life is that. The thought that I am still on the road, but I am getting closer by day, it seems very encouraging. No doubt about it. But is it not better if we are aware of what is to be scaled That is why here Papa says, when we sit silently, we have to be conscious in the first place that the God we seek is in our own heart. Then mentally repeat his name. Make the mind repeat the name until all its waves cease, and then it becomes perfectly still. If it does not easily become still, we have to continue the repetition of the name mentally with an attitude of self-surrender. That means with a prayer, no? I am unable to concentrate. I am unable to identify every thought as you. I am unable to maintain the feeling that I am remembering you. Though at all times you are there, even when I forget, even when I remember, but still you make me feel that I have forgotten. And when you make me feel that you have forgotten, I feel I am away from you. See, these are all the thoughts that will play in our mind. So if it does not easily become still, we have to continue the repetition of the name mentally with an attitude of self-surrender. We try to develop the witness consciousness. It is the outcome, not that. It is the outcome. That means when we chant, consciously when we chant, we become aware that we are chanting. Even that expression is not right. It is better to put it in a passive voice. When chanting is taken up knowingly, mentally, the awareness wells up where the chanting is going on. Chanting is heard. Chanting is realized. This awareness, this is a state of awareness of the immortal, radiant truth within us. In fact, this awareness itself is God-realisation. So we feel that probably that might have been the base for this thought. But as long as you believe these words, that I am still on the road, I am getting closer day by day, it will divide you and send you on a journey of near misses. Because the sought after is always away. I am seeking. That means seeker is different. The goal is different. Whereas the goal itself is there in the seeking. The seeking is made possible because of the sought after is there. It is highly subjective. Unless we apply our mind, it is difficult to understand. Even these words are coming now because he is there in the form of life force. He is there in the form of consciousness, awareness. But if I say that I am chanting the name to remember him, initially everything is all right. But if I keep on doing this, I will not be able to reach the desired state of becoming one with him. Utterance of God's name is to make the mind ultimately still, free from all thoughts. It is in the stillness that we know and realize God. So stillness means where there is no seeking. For intellectual grasping, this is okay. But to what extent it helps us in our sadhana, each one has to find out. Today, as a continuation to yesterday's, Puja Swamiji talks about the chanting. What Puja Swamiji says is very difficult, but we will keep it as an ideal before us. Love purifies and makes the mind dwell on God, by Swami Satchidanandji. When beloved Papa Swami Ramdas gave the name to us, he assured us that if we keep chanting the name constantly, it will take us to the supreme heights of realization and grant us eternal peace and happiness. See how much joy we get when we all sing the name together. We forget ourselves, we get a taste of that supreme bliss. And what will happen if we are able to chant the name constantly, all the 24 hours of the day? We will be swimming in bliss. Why not we make a decision now that at any cost we should chant the name, the glorious name which beloved Papa has given us constantly, and enjoy the peace and happiness of the eternal. Constantly is a very important word. Constantly means all the 24 hours. It may not be possible in the beginning to keep the name going on constantly, but by practice, by our intense aspiration to realize Him, we will be able to do that. One thing is sure, whether you do it constantly or not, the more you chant the name, the more peace and happiness you will get. Why are we not able to chant the name constantly? Though we have resolved to do so many times, Beloved Papa has given us the clue. To keep the name going on strongly, constantly, we should have great love for God. Unless we have intense aspiration to realize Him, our love for things of the world will be more than our love for Him. Love is a great purifier. If we love our own people at home and everybody in the world, it will be possible for us to keep chanting the name constantly. So along with the chanting of the name, develop love for all. Love is absolutely necessary for the purification of the mind and to make it dwell on God constantly. We can understand for yourself how much peace and happiness you get when you love your own people in the house. We know this from experience, yet we do not want to develop that habit of loving everybody. Start loving your own people in the house, then your neighbors, then outsiders. As sadhakas, as devotees of beloved Papa, let us understand that by looking upon all as manifestation of beloved Papa Himself and loving and serving them, we can progress on the spiritual path. When we say our beloved Papa, what does it mean? Is He God Himself? Yes. What is God? God is the infinite and eternal existence. He has manifested as the entire universe. When we say He has manifested as the entire universe, it means whatever we see before us is the form of our beloved Papa. So we should love everybody, looking upon everybody as forms of beloved Papa Himself. That love will give great happiness. Beloved Papa does not want us to do very difficult things for our sadhana. He expects us only to keep chanting the holy name constantly. Love and serve everybody and try to look upon everybody as manifestation of Himself. Let us try to follow His instructions. That will be the greatest service we can do for Him. Many people, when Papa was in body here, came and asked him, "How can we serve you? Papa, what service can we do for you?" He did not say, "You must do this, you must bring that, or you must bring this." He said, "The greatest service you can do for Ramdas is to take Ramnam constantly." So that is applicable to us even now. Let us all take Ramnam constantly and thus serve him and be the recipients of his grace, which will take us to the supreme goal of God-realisation. Anybody would like to say anything? On what has been read out, if anything that wells up in your heart. Otherwise, the reading becomes mechanical. It becomes a one-way traffic. If there is interactive session, then only it becomes lively.
We give more importance to routine, Swamiji.
Hmm?
We give so much importance to the routine. So stillness and all, no? I think we keep postponing.
Because of her preoccupations.
We see Mataji was able to remain still even when she was working, no? 4-5 hours. We are not doing, but even sitting, we'll think we'll do tomorrow or later, like that.
Unknowingly, we are
We are
postponing.
postponing.
Yes. Yes, anything else?
Yesterday, Swami told chanting of Ramnam make your love and faith is more and more land meditation. For beginners,
chanting with Ramnam, with love and faith, when we do that, meditation will become the outcome of it. It is not that meditation is not necessary. Because inward journey is a must. Only by inward journey we become aware of his presence. Otherwise, chanting goes on, you are back to square one. We have been watching ourselves, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, what is happening? We put ourselves in that, what is happening to us. So if we have to go nearer to him, every now and then we have to resort to this dhyan. Dhyan not necessarily in the way in which everybody understands as dhyan. Now Papa has clearly mentioned in this, that when we mentally chant, the witness consciousness slowly emerges, which is nothing but an awareness. What is witness consciousness? Witness consciousness is an awareness. This is a state of awareness of the immortal and radiant truth within us. In fact, this awareness itself is God-realisation. Papa has made it very, very clear, though initially he will not say, because we cannot understand. It should be based on jnana, jnanottara bhakti. People who are not in a position to exclusively sit for this particular sadhana, we have to integrate this sadhana with anything and everything that we do. Because none of us will be able to do the chanting throughout the waking state. It is a simple, naked truth. When Swamiji says constantly, it's nice to hear, na? Not that we disrespect him. Is it possible? If it was possible, we would have already done. So we have to find out a via media now. We are not in a position to sit and chant throughout, even when we conduct our, Akhanda Ramnam. Do the same people go for all the session? Every 1 hour or 2 hours, depending upon the number of persons, we divide them into groups, and the groups will go there. Is it not? That means what? Though we say Akhanda Ramnam is going on, but participants are not doing Akhanda Ramnam. They all enjoy Ramnam, but it is not possible for them physically, mentally, to engage themselves in this constant chanting, which Papa was able to do when he was 38 years old. So we have to now find out a method. Then we go and search in it. Then he mentioned chanting is for remembrance. So we try to remember him as much as possible throughout the waking state by going to the origin of everything. By keeping us always, nothing is irrelevant, nothing is unimportant, nothing is insignificant. These are all some of the ways by which we try to keep the link. We handle everything with a touch of love, touch of perfection, touch of dedication, touch of gratitude. Because we are doing it as a seva to him, whether at home or in the office or with the society. So these are all some of the ways by which we can try to keep up the remembrance constantly, They are not chanting constantly. Each one of us have to develop what is possible for us. We have given a fair trial. In the early 90s, on all our important days, we used to have night also Ramnam. We all used to take part. Enthusiastically, we will take part. By 5 o'clock in the morning, we get back. We will be totally exhausted. We may rest for an hour or two, then again bath, then again we have to work. But the whole day will be tiresome. This is the truth, Even at a stretch, 8 to 10 hours when we do that, next day we get exhausted. And we have enough work on our head. So exclusiveness will not be there for that. So when we type out, when we handle things, we try to remember. Though the body may be complaining that you need rest, we try. So then when we go through the different aspects of Papa's words on chanting, merely chanting will not help. First he will ask us to chant. Then slowly he will add one by one. We are chanting the name of one who is within us. We are chanting because he is making us to chant. He is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, all-pervading, indwelling, like that. This is called meditative chanting, not merely chanting. But initially we may not be able to understand, so we just start chanting and see for ourselves whether this mere chanting helps us or not. In exceptional cases, it might also help. So each one has to find out for oneself whether the chanting is helping him. And here Swamiji says, unless we expand our love circle, the chanting will not become, we will not be able to do the chanting. What does it mean? We can love all only on the basis of some common denominator, no? A little bit of manana. We will read out some portions of Papa's. Jnanottar bhakti means bhakti that comes after jnana. Jnana is the realization of the Atman, Nirguna Brahman. What about the universe? How to look upon it? Take it as the manifestation of Brahman. Then only we'll be able to love all. That is done in Parabhakti. After attaining jnana, the bhakta looks upon the whole universe as God himself. He does not discard it as mithya. The Gita also says the world manifestation is a leela of God. This experience is gained through Parabhakti. While bhakti is nothing but feelings born out of love for God, jnana relies on self-inquiry and going beyond it. Ram not only blessed Papa with Jnanottar Bhakti, but also enabled him to maintain a personal relationship with the impersonal. It is very clear, Jnanottar Bhakti. While beloved Papa was seeing the divine self as pervading every particle of the universe, he experienced simultaneously the same infinite as a personal God, speaking to him and guiding him in an utterly personal way. No doubt, the path of jnana enables one to know his or her origin, but the sweetness of that experience need not necessarily be there if it is not combined with bhakti. Only when divinity is there, enjoyment of sweetness can be had. So scaling the heights through non-dual realization, while simultaneously developing a loving devotion, were profoundly juxtaposed in the living experience of beloved Papa. So both should go hand in hand. Probably that would have been one of the reasons why we still feel we are away from him. Though we are chanting. Think about it. He is the one who is making me to chant. Should I not know him? Elsewhere, Papa bluntly says that if chanting goes on like what we are doing, even for 100 years it will be like this. Not a disincentive, but he wants us. There should be some preparation for the chanting. In Papa's case, he was well equipped with all these things. Especially Yoga Vasishtha, when we heard that he was reading, because Yoga Vasishtha is the quintessence of Advaita philosophy. When Rama explains about the transitoriness of the world, of the Jagat, and he asks utterly, what is the purpose of this life? Everything sprouts, stays, dies back. What is the charm in it? Men are born, they live, they die. Whatever I feel is charming at one time, it does not have the same influence on me later. Everything is keep on changing. Even the joy I got, even the contentment I got, that does not stay for me forever. So what is the purpose of life? And then Vasishtha, one by one through episodes, he answers. And you will all remember, the last word of Rama. What did he say? Anybody remembers? If you think I am not mature enough to understand this, I will go on a fast unto death. Because there is no purpose in living. And if you also say something, which everybody says, can you convince me? Who asked? Lord Rama. For the sake of all of us, he asked this question, and for the sake of us all, he made Vasishtha to answer. So this text, which is the quintessence of the entire philosophy, that was also gone through by Papa. And if we remember the exact word of Chandrasekhar Rao, it was not ordinary reading. You have that book? Passage Divinity? If you don't have, don't worry. For that you don't have to keep the chair like this. That word was very, very, very touching. It was not ordinary reading. So there is it was definitely different than the usual reading. Because that means going deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And when Papa reads Bhagavad Gita, it is not the reading. absorption. So that was the background, and then with that background he started chanting. So it was very clear. Papa does not say that to everybody because we will not be able to understand. So as we keep on chanting, all these questions will come to us. Why am I not progressing? That is why as to Anandashram, Papa said, if you have got any doubt, take it that you have not chanted Ramnam properly. That means I should ask myself, what is it that I am doing? Mind is going elsewhere, I am chanting outwardly. No. Mind is fixed on such and such a thing, I am chanting. No. So I will try to understand what is it. And when such a mind wells up, either from within or from without, we will get the guidance. Umashankar, on my table, there is a small book.
Yes,
Password.
Chanting.
Eh?
Chanting book, no, Swamiji?
Chanting. It is there on the table I have kept. Chanting is the password. We specifically brought it out on the occasion of year end, yes, because we are all chanting. It is high time we try to make some amends in our chanting. We take it up seriously. So when Puja Swamiji says, try to do it constantly is not possible for us. So how to constantly? Then I can only do constant remembrance. How do I develop remembrance? If I have to remember, I must have some idea about what is to be remembered, some idea about God. If we are told God is love, we will not be able to understand. Because that is again a superlative word. Then we come across life is the expression of Atman, whose name we are chanting. And that is something easy for us to understand. I am here, sitting here, because the life is there. So from there we can start easily. So his chanting is based upon all these, That is why a stage came in 2 hours, so 2 years. In 2 years he could get this balance. And that is why he was able to say, when his father came and asked, what happened to you, son? He said, God is making him to chant. Slowly and imperceptibly, the external circumstances were helping Vittal Rao's religious inclination to become deeper and his spirit of dispassion to gain an added strength and impetus. Every evening he spent an hour at the house of Sitaram Rao, whose children would be engaged in bhajan before the image of Sri Krishna. During the bhajan, Vittal Rao would lose himself in a blissful state of self-forgetfulness. He now commenced reading afresh. That means he must have read previously. The lofty teachings of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the works of Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramtirtha, as well as other religious books like the Yoga Vasishta, with an intense interest. These works seemed now to unveil to him a deeper meaning and significance than they ever did before, and had the effect of accelerating the speed of the spiritual evolution that was subtly taking place within him. So it was not reading, It was churning, mananam, deep contemplation. Huh?
Always is remember God, remember God. What is to be remembered? God has no entity. That's very important.
അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് പറഞ്ഞത് ലൈഫ് ഈസ് ദി എക്സ്പ്രഷൻ ഓഫ് ആത്മ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ. Until such time, many devotees have told us this. Only after hearing this word, they got the clarity. And he has mentioned what is spirituality. There he clearly explains about this heartbeat, everything, Life. So this is the word. Life is the expression of Atman. Though seemingly two, they are one. Then we checked up with the Bhagavad Gita. Then we came to know Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu. Easy for us to understand. Rest of the things are tall words. But life is something we can understand. We know life and death, From there we will try to understand what is real life. It is not the life and death. But it is we get something about the power. The power which makes us to, then we, one by one when you take, Kenopanishad when you take, then you will understand that that with which your eyes see, but with the eyes that which you cannot see, know that I am that. So what is the power behind it? So the first starting point is life force. Second point could be the knowing principle, which we call as awareness. Awareness and life force are intertwined. Easy to understand. You just stop. Words are coming. Where from they are coming? You know that you are talking. You know that you are looking. You know that you are hearing. You know that you are sitting. You know that you are so and so. Who is that? Wait. Who is that knowing? You know that you are so and so. Who is knowing it? It can't be that so and so. So we try to understand the presence of a spirit, presence of a power. And then that power is behind everything that we do. Every talk, every word, every deed, everything, because it is that power is there. So it is easy for us to understand. Then we have to keep on pursuing. The easy way to understand the indwelling reality is to somehow hold on to this. Unfortunately, in many of the commentaries I have gone through, this has not been highlighted. When they say Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu, they will say I am the life in everything, the pulsating, motivating force. But it has not been highlighted and to be taken as the first step. Because as you said, you remember God. Unless we have some idea about God, how can we remember Him? Papa used to say that you can also take it as Nada Brahman, because it's the sound, The sound comes where? From where? So when we try to go to the origin of the sound, we get some idea about the indwelling reality. Thought cannot enter there, but thought becomes aware. How does the sound come? So when we keep that, these are the advantages of mental chanting. When we keep on mental chanting, there is a witness and the chanting. Where from the chanting comes? How does the chanting go on? Keen aspiration to know. Ramdas has already said that when we are repeating the name of God, we must be conscious that we are repeating the name of one who is within us, who is our true being and existence. We must keep this central fact in our mind when taking his name. Then the practice will gradually make us aware of his existence within us. At the beginning, we are not aware of this, but we intellectually accept the idea that God dwells within us and we take his name. The association with him is there mentally, and it grows into an experience when we actually feel his presence by constantly hammering into the mind. See, constantly hammering into the mind that God whom we aspire to see is within us and that the name we repeat is his name. The object of repeating the name is to purify the mind and thereby get the awareness of him within us. God then becomes not a matter of mere intellectual acceptance, but an object of intimate and close experience, because our communion with him through the name becomes so perfect that gradually we lose the distinction between ourselves and him, and freed from all desires and outgoing tendencies, find union with him. We then realize that the light of God is nothing but the light that comes from our own soul. Actually, when the light dawns on us, we cannot but see him anywhere. As we become aware of him within us, we become conscious of him without us also. What is the aim? To get our mind purified by constant remembrance of God. Taking God's name, doing japa means that we are trying to become conscious of God, because the mantra, the name stands for God. When we tune ourselves with the name, we tune ourselves with God. That is the purpose of repeating the mantra. Without it, the repetition becomes merely mechanical, does not help us in any way. We must knowingly repeat the mantra and become conscious of God by understanding the object of such repetition. Papa has written in the book In the Vision of God about a sadhu who did not find joy even though he had repeated God's name for 30 years. Ramdas. Because he was repeating the name with the feeling that he was doing it. Let him repeat like that for 100 years, still he will remain the same. Devotees say, it is by God's grace alone one starts repeating the name, Papa. But he must feel it. He goes on repeating day by day. He looks down upon others who are not repeating. I am repeating 20,000 times. I fasted. I went to solitude. Saw so many saints. He takes pride in it. People praise him. He gets puffed up. The bandicoot is inside. Even if he repeats Ramnam lakhs of time, he cannot improve. So many people admit I am repeating the name, but mind is wandering. What can I do? The cause is he thinks he is doing it. He must be humble enough to admit that God is doing it. Not merely orally saying but feeling. It must become a consciousness. Whenever he is told that he is repeating the name, at once he must be able to say, God is making me repeat God's name. Papa. Our sufferings are due to the assumption that we are doing everything. So we are asked to surrender. I am nothing, O God. You are everything. I do nothing, O God. You do everything. So in the background, while repeating the name, you must feel you are repeating the name of God who is in your heart. You must become conscious of God within you. Then if you repeat the name with faith, love and devotion, gradually you become conscious of God's presence within, without, everywhere. That is the result of remembering God through repetition of His name. If there is not that remembrance, the repetition is mechanical. Initially, we are not told, agreed. Initially, like everybody, we also chant. Then we ask ourselves, what is happening to me? All these questions should come back to me. Then only we realize that though he was not telling us openly, later on he said, whatever we do, we may not be able to chant throughout the waking time. So whatever we do during the non-chanting time, it has got its own impact on the chanting. So that is why he said, our outer activity should be compatible with inner aspiration. Inner aspiration is to remember him. So whatever I do under the banner of family life, professional life or social life, or in our case the ashram life, it should be in line with our aspiration to realize him. So the clue is given. And even with that, we feel no. Then he says, impurity should be gone. It should go. So long as there is impurity, then we try to understand what is impurity. Impurity is nothing but me and mine. My cravings, my infatuation, my desires, my rights and wrongs, my likes and dislikes. All this put together is the me, and so long as that fellow is there, I will not be able to remember him. So we try to adjust our life in such a way that slowly we try to reduce the dominance of me and mine. And every now and then we have to check up. How do we check up? God will check up. He will put us, even in ashram, He will put us in severe tests. Whether you complain, whether you grumble, whether you accept the situation. Even in a small circle, if we are not in a position to do, how are we going to do it in the open? So, not merely chanting. When we try to go deeper and deeper in his words of wisdom, then we find there are so many things to be followed simultaneously with chanting. Not that we should, the importance of chanting should be reduced, no. Because if that is reduced, everything will go. So we should keep chanting, and along with that, whatever is necessary, that also we should simultaneously develop. Chanting should be there as our prop. We can employ different methods of chanting. The purpose is to remember him. And the moment we remember him, our love circle will automatically expand. Though we may not know that he is there in everybody, the me and mine will get reduced so that the me to we becomes more and more prominent in us, which is what is called the expression of love. He was able to do it because in 2 years' time he withdrew himself from the common run of life. He contemplated upon all these subjects deeply, and simultaneously he was carrying on with chanting. Chanting was the thread, that keeps it unbroken. And along with the chanting, he was able to supplement with all these things. And that gave him the complete picture in 2 years' time. Then he could take the plunge, the final test. And he used the word meditate. Though later on he said he had not tried this meditation, he himself has used in IQG, first meditated and chanted, And what was the vow he has taken? This life should be exclusively consecrated to meditation of Ram and love of Ram.
Meditation and service of Ram.
So meditation is there, na? Think about it. Did he say that I am the three vows chanting God's name? So his chanting was meditative chanting, fully concentrated to meditation. Meditation inward, seva outside. Love of Ram means seva outside. So both he was able to remind himself. That is the purpose of sannyas, according to him then. The purpose of sannyas was to meditate on him always. That means to revel on him, to become aware of him, to remember him inwardly. And then, based upon that, love and serve everybody. That he is there in everybody. So that was the first vow he took. So he has given that much importance for the word meditation. The moment we hear meditation, we need not jump into the conclusion of sitting and normally what we understand as dhyan. No. Deep contemplation.
After that slowly continuous chanting, it transforms into meditation.
Slowly continuous chanting transforms into meditation.
It can vary from people to people. Any method that is okay for you. We don't get stuck with the word meditation or chanting. Initially, those words help us. But later on, our idea is to become aware of his presence.
As you said, the chanting should be conscious. It should be conscious. Only then it transforms into meditation. At one stage, it takes you beyond body and mind.
No, here the problem comes for an ordinary person. Constancy cannot be maintained. Early morning, you get up, you are a family person. Then you go for your field of employment. Then you are with your friends. Early morning, when you get up, you have your bath, you go to the puja room, spend some time for prayer or chanting. Later on, God has put you on these fields. How do you continue it? So there, we have been asked to bring in this dimension.
I said conscious chanting. You sit for an hour or two, conscious chanting, and it can transform into meditation.
the effect of the half an hour or whatever it is, it should be intense. Even then, Vyavaharik intervention will definitely dilute it. So the only thing is we have to bring in the dimension there. Where the me and mind plays a role. Why we are not being able to do it? Because the me and mind is still strong. When the zero desires, cravings, infatuations, if they are less and less, we are moving towards him. Because Papa used to say, why we have not been able to chant? Because we don't have love towards him. When we have love for other things, our love is not given fully to him. When we go to ashram, when we meet a saint, when we are sitting in a congregation, we get something. We are lifted to a sattvic mood. Again, we are back to square one when we are outside. So how to do that? Each one has to devise one's own method. Nobody can follow. We may be able to read, but to put it in practice, we have to bring out our own. Because our nature is different, Our aptitude is different, our body constitution is different, mind constitution is different. So here he says, when we sit silently, we have to be conscious in the first place that the God we seek is in our own heart. Second, then mentally repeat his name. Make the mind repeat the name until all its waves cease and it becomes perfectly still. If it does not easily become still, we have to continue the repetition of the name mentally with an attitude of self-surrender. We try to develop a witness consciousness. This is a state of awareness of the immortal and radiant truth within us. In fact, this awareness itself is God-realisation. So from chanting, how he takes us by steps. So we have try mental chanting. And when we chant, we may get hurdles, and then in a mysterious way, he will, like this, he will make us to remember, and he will guide us. I think that will. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om